Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast here at the Fountains of the Bellagio, CB Sports HQ. Lovely fountains at work all week. We are here for the final show of the week from Super Bowl 58, 49ers versus the Chiefs. That's Will Brinson. That's John Breach, who someone just said that is one ugly jacket as they walk by. No argument here. I'm Ryan Wilson, and today, boys, we're doing the Pick Sixies. I like that little fancy name. We're going to go through some picks, things we liked over the course of the season, our winners and losers, if you will. NFL Honors is tonight, but we're going to do our NFL Awards version of this, but we're going to include the playoffs, which is something that, Breach, Brinson, you know, that is not how the honors work. And let's get this thing started here. So, first up, Offensive Player of the Year. Brinson, you have the floor, sir.
This is easy. Our esteemed editor, R.J. White, put together a handicapper draft before the season. You had to pick like win totals, award markets, et cetera, et cetera. One of the first things I picked was Christian McCaffrey to win Offensive Player of the Year. He was 11-1. We said in the preseason podcast, Christian McCaffrey, 11-1. Hammer, lock, smash, button, easy bet. And you know what? I'm not right about everything, Breach. I'm not right about a lot of things. I was right about that.
Brinson, you are right about 5% of the time. I disagree with you 98% of the time. But for this one, I absolutely agree with you. This feels like the easy pick I don't want to shoot down in case somebody else has another vote. But look, this is the NFL's leading rusher in 2023. He's been such a weapon for the 49ers. If you take him out of this offense, are they in the Super Bowl? I'm guessing no. So Christian McCaffrey, as Brinson said.
That's a great point. He wins it even without the playoffs. They don't beat the Packers or the Lions without McCaffrey.
Yes.
The same can be said about Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs in the playoffs. Oh, wait, they did not beat the Chiefs and Miami Dolphins. But Tyreek Hill is my guy.
Wow.
He would have been my guy pre or post playoff performance because he is so important to what they do. A little fun fact for you here, boys. He led the NFL in terms of targets for his team. He was targeted 37% of the time. That was the highest rate in the NFL. 13 receiving touchdowns, first in the NFL. 1,799 yards, first in the NFL. And Breach, he led the NFL in explosive plays with 46. Ooh. It's hard to argue that Tyreek Hill over the regular season was not the MVP.
I've got a number for you.
And then what did he do in the playoffs? I forgot.
Hey, he scored the only touchdown they had, and he had 64 receiving yards.
What does the number 62 mean to you? When I say 62, do you think about the number of receiving yards that Tyreek Hill had against the Chiefs both times he played them in losses?
Wilson, what say you?
Oh, he asked you, but yes, that's exactly what I think.
But
about.
I didn't pick Tyreek Hill as my Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to come to some conclusion here. I guess if we're just doing the Democratic vote, you guys win 2-1.
Yeah, McCaffrey's the pick, dude.
But do I get more weight or no?
No.
Okay.
Because you're the host?
If anybody gets more weight, I think it would be me.
I was going to say because I'm the best-looking person on the set, but we can go. All right, so Brinson wins in terms of the weight category there. All right, Christian McCaffrey, congratulations. You are the inaugural winner of the Pick Sixies for Offensive Player of the Year. And quickly, pick didn't change for Brinson for the regular season. And Breach, you were okay regular season-wise with McCaffrey as well?
I think he's going to win the award. NFL Honors is going to give him the award. I think he's going to be the winner. Postseason only embellished his resume. It didn't embellish, whatever you want to say. It didn't factor in though.
And to Wilson's point, I thought Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, neck and neck at the end of the regular season, but then McCaffrey blows it away if you had the postseason, which is what we're doing here on the Pick Sixies.
If Tyreek Hill had been on the 49ers, you guys would be voting for Tyreek Hill right now. All right, next up, Defensive Player of the Year. Because offense is what everyone talks about, but defense is where you make your money. I just made that up, Breach. Feel free to use it. Brinson, let's go. What do you got? Defensive Player of the Year.
I think I went, you could go... I went Myles Garrett. I don't think that I'm...
You seem pretty pumped about it.
You're really selling us on it, Brinson.
This is one where I'm like, you know what? I think Myles Garrett sort of wins by default. I mean, he had a great... The Browns made the playoffs because of their defense. They got there because of their defense. Now, the defense didn't show up on the road this year. The defense sure as hell didn't show up in Houston against the Texans, but they got there because of their defense. Myles Garrett is the focal point of that defense.
It sounds like the Tyreek Hill argument, but in reverse.
It does. It doesn't sound very good coming out of my mouth, I'll be honest.
All right, rebut or give us your pick, Breach.
You know what? I stayed in the same division as Brinson, but I did not take Myles Garrett. I took TJ Watt. And you know what, Wilson, since you are the resident Steelers homer on this podcast, and I'm pretty sure you have the same vote as me, I will let you make Watt's case, but I will say when he is not on the field, whenever he's missed games, that defense just looks like they've never played football. You put TJ Watt out there, he is a game wrecker, and he wrecked plenty of games this year.
19 sacks, led the NFL. 38 hits on the quarterback, led the NFL. And to follow up on the Tyreek Hill / Christian McCaffrey importance in the postseason, he didn't play in the wild card loss to the Bills because of the knee injury. They probably win that game if he's there. They don't win that game. And by the way,
if they do, then he's my MVP
without question. Right.
Yeah.
I'll ask you guys a question here. What is the Steelers' record without TJ Watt?
0-17.
Not far off.
6-11.
What would the Steelers' record be if
me give you
Kenny
the
Pickett was their edge rusher and TJ Watt was quarterback?
Oh, they would be undefeated. 17-0. They are 1-11. When Kenny Pickett plays, yes, but when TJ Watt does not play.
I am perfectly fine with TJ Watt winning the award. The numbers, we see the splits whenever he gets hurt, and the numbers are staggering. Like, just how bad the Steelers are when TJ Watt is not on the field. I think some of that is a little correlation, causation, but I'm fine with Watt.
But the one thing is, if you miss like 3 games, they go in 3. It's a small sample size. You don't know. But there's 12 games.
It's almost a full season.
Yes, and 1-11 is staggering. It says a lot. So
And I do think too that playoff game in Buffalo, if we don't have an insane weather event, the Bills probably hang like 40 on them.
And one thing I will say is that one reason, and this includes Myles Garrett, that the Steelers and Browns are so successful really against the Bengals, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, is because of their ability to rush the passer. So I thought both our votes were good here.
Yeah. The most shocking thing, Brinson, is that Breach didn't have a Bengals player on the list so far.
Trey Hendrickson.
There you go. All right, let's keep this thing rolling, guys. Next up, Offensive Rookie of the Year. This feels like a layup, but let's see if it is. Brinson, who is your Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Kenny Pickett.
All right, Breach.
CJ Stroud. Look, it's a runaway. It should be a runaway. It's unfortunate. I mean, I guess it's unfortunate for a guy like Puka Nacua to have the season that he had for the Rams. I mean, just a dynamic, incredible rookie season. A testament to Les Snead and Sean McVay and the job that they did evaluating talent, drafting talent, and then, of course, coaching. But CJ Stroud has to win it with that performance at quarterback, one of the all-time performances by a rookie quarterback in their first season.
You take a team that had the worst record in the AFC last season, you put a rookie quarterback back there, you don't expect them to make the playoffs the next season, and that is exactly what happened here. I agree with Brinson. I would love to make an argument for Puka Nacua because it's just so phenomenal, and probably almost any other year he wins Offensive Rookie there, but not the year we get stuck going up against CJ Stroud, who took the hapless Texans to the playoffs, so I agree with Brinson.
In terms of EPA, expected points per attempt per dropback, he's ahead of names like Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, behind Jordan Love, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and Brock Purdy. I think that says it all. And again, I joked about it during the course of the fall when he was going off. Sometimes you get the quarterback you need, not the quarterback you want. So just something to keep in mind here as we go through this draft process.
David Tepper, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
David Tepper should do what they made Jerry Jones do during the Johnny Manziel draft. Tell him, put him in the closet for 15 minutes, draft the player you want, and then have success with your organization there. All right, that was pretty easy. There was no real controversy there. I think the Puka Nacua thing is obviously important.
We need some softballs before we get to the tough stuff.
All right, this is a good one here. Just talked about the Offensive Rookie of the Year. We're going with Defensive Rookie of the Year. And there are a lot of candidates, and there are a lot of guys that came out of nowhere. And the other thing to keep in mind is that early on in the process, I don't think I'm spoiling this, Jalen Carter was the slam dunk go-ahead winner based on what happened even starting in the preseason. But let's go.
I do think that Jalen Carter, he came out of the gate so hot with some just big splash plays at the position, but I also think that he was sort of the slam dunk winner odds-wise basically by default for a large portion of the season.
Yeah, Devin Witherspoon had a good start, but breached quickly before we get Brince's pick. And Jalen Carter and the Eagles. You just heard something that Lane Johnson said about the Eagles season unraveling, and maybe that had something to do with it as well.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Is that part of the?
Yeah. We'll get to that later.
Oh, that's part of the show.
Wilson's trying to jump ahead.
All right.
You skipped half the show, Wilson.
I'll get my revenge on you for that later. Let's just.
That made the revenge segment. All right, there we go. All right, Brinson, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Where are you going?
I'm going Will Anderson because I already turned in my vote. I do think that Devin Witherspoon deserves a lot of love, though. Man, he is awesome. And in that Mike McDonald defense next year, Spoon, the guy they call Spoon, is going to have a big season, I think. I'm going to go Will Anderson because, as good as CJ Stroud was, the Texans made the playoffs in large part because Will Anderson came on like gangbusters down the stretch, piled up a bunch of sacks, and looked like the elite defensive player that we thought he was going into the draft.
Yeah, Will Anderson, it's crazy that the Texans were so successful because you had to hit home runs with both these picks. Otherwise, people are just going to rip your front office forever. And
they traded a team that had not won more than four games in the last 5 years, traded a future first-round pick. And it worked out. That never happens. It didn't even draft a quarterback with
Right, and it's funny you just mentioned trading first-round picks because the team I'm going to mention right now loves to trade first-round picks, Ryan Wilson. That is the Los Angeles Rams. My defensive rookie of the year is Kobe Turner.
Kobe Turner.
I feel like he really fell under the radar this year. This is someone, and it's probably because, as we mentioned, he did not get off to a hot start. He led all rookies in sacks with 9, and I think 8 of those came after November 1st. So you're talking about someone who was completely off the radar, tore it up to end of the season, tied the Rams rookie record for sacks to Aaron Donald. You tie a record by Aaron Donald, you're automatically good. So I'm giving mine to Kobe Turner.
They crushed the draft, and they didn't have a first-round pick. Kobe Turner's Elijah Douzable, our colleague, was a big Kobe Turner guy. My colleague, co-host on the With the First Pick podcast, Rick Spielman, was not, and Elijah takes every opportunity to bring that up to him. Great season for Kobe, but I'm with Brinson. I'm going with Will Anderson Jr.
Boo.
10 tackles for loss this year, second among all rookies. 38 hurries, 21 hits, both first. 59 pressures was also first among rookies. Will Anderson Jr., a big start to the season. As you guys noted, we're not even talking about the fact that they traded up to go back and get Will Anderson. Yeah. The Houston Texans did.
Do we think, who do you think wins in honors? I think it's Anderson, right?
I don't know.
I feel like it will be Will Anderson.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless people were so stuck on Jalen Carter, they still vote for him.
C.J. Stroud's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year when NFL honors happens. He obviously won the pick 60. If Will Anderson wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, I believe that'll be the 3rd time that a team has had both the Offensive Rookie of the Year and the Defensive Rookie of the Year in the same season, and in the first time back-to-back years after Gang Green did it last year.
The Houston Texans have turned the corner. All right, comeback player of the year. We don't have to dwell on this because it feels not unanimous, but it's close. Who do you have, Brenton?
I have Joe Flacco.
Okay. I don't have Joe Flacco. Breach, do you have Joe Flacco?
So here is the funny part is that...
Do you want me to give the take? I don't know if I feel like getting sent home early, but
let's just...
This is including the playoffs. I had Joe Flacco and DeMar Hamlin in a tie. Flacco melted down in the postseason, and now he's off my list because he lost that game for the Houston... Or he lost the game for the Browns against
He was playing for the Houston Texans.
That's what it looks like.
You're saying.
I think that the DeMar Hamlin story is fantastic. I have no problems with him winning the award. I think the fact that he came back from death is a pretty good comeback. It's hard to top coming back from death.
That's the name of the award.
Having said all that, in my opinion, I believe that the award, this particular award, give him a different award.
Flacco came back from sitting on his mom's couch.
They gave it to Phillip Rivers for coming back from having a bad season.
All right, so here's the thing. We got one Joe Flacco. I'll be the tiebreaker.
Actually, I'll change mine since you guys are going to go Hamlin. I'll go Matthew Stafford.
All right, next up.
So the pick 60 goes to
DeMar Hamlin. Okay. I mean, let's not complicate this. Coach of the year. I think we're gonna keep the Rams theme going here. If I had to guess, Breach, who is your coach of the year, Brinson?
Can I change mine again on the fly? I should not put him up there.
Listen, don't change now. Do what you do.
Our producers do not like Brinson because he doesn't follow any script.
Sean McVay.
No, when I say don't change, continue to do the things that you do, which is just throwing curveballs.
Don't change who I am.
Keep throwing curveballs.
I'll never change who I am. Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm going to keep throwing curveballs.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Sean McVay. Give me the Rams. Kevin Stefanski deserves a ton of credit. They had a bunch of quarterbacks. I believe 6 different starting quarterbacks when you factor in that they had to sit Joe Flacco. They got to sit Joe Flacco in Week 18. All the credit in the world for Kevin Stefanski. All the credit in the world for DeMeco Ryans. Winning that division with those 2 rookies being your key players, incredible season for the Houston Texans. But I think that the Los Angeles Rams deserve more credit, and I'm here to give it to them. Sean McVay is my pick for Coach of the Year.
Well, this is crazy because usually I'm the Sean McVay homer who just pumps up Sean McVay whenever I can, and now Brinson's doing it over here, and I'm not voting for Sean McVay. Of course, this is one where I really took the playoffs into consideration, and you guys apparently say all the time that this guy looks like me, and I could not vote against handsomeness. So I went with Packers coach Matt LaFleur, who got that team to the playoffs, won a playoff game, and probably should have beat the 49ers, beat Green Bay, Kansas City in the Super Bowl right now. So for getting them to the divisional round, I think they overachieved this year. I like Matt LaFleur.
Should have won. Interesting, you didn't qualify with the fact they should have won the playoff game because the kicker honked the kick. That's also troubling. But I am also going Matt LaFleur, John Breach's doppelganger. Wins over the Lions and Chiefs in back-to-back primetime games. They had the three-game winning streak in the course of the season, and the way they played in the playoffs, they got the 7th seed. We didn't say maybe until the last weeks of the regular season that this team is not a team you want to face in the playoffs. It was typically the Browns or the Rams was Brinson's go-to, and I get that. But I'm with you. I thought Matt LaFleur did more with young talent. They lost Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love outplayed Aaron Rodgers over the second half of the season based on what Aaron Rodgers did in 2022. Huge job.
And they smoked the Cowboys.
And oh boy, Mike McCarthy kept his job. Emmitt Smith was not happy about that today. If anyone was at Radio Row, he was fired up about that. All right.
Matt LaFleur, I kind of like the Matt LaFleur pick if we're doing it in the pick 60 style, which is to include the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because, we were talking, Brian Gutekunst, got asked, I was thinking the old Carolina Chancellor, he got asked during the season, do you know if Jordan Love is your franchise quarterback? And he's like, I don't know yet.
This is like November 1st.
This is like late in the season. And then now we're like, well, the Packers did it again. So sure.
Okay.
Yeah. We're ready to bench. We go from Jordan Love being benched to, oh my God, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer in 5 years.
Right. And you're not wrong. The Packers could have easily been in the Super Bowl.
All right, we're going to do MVP right now. That's the most valuable player, Breach, for the pick 60s. I'm going to start, and then Brinson's going to follow, and then we'll let Breach hopefully agree with the consensus. Just me Karnacking it up here. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. We've talked about it for months now. MVP in 2019. He's a better player this season than he was during that MVP campaign, that new Todd Monken offense. It all came together. Unfortunately, if we're including the playoffs, which is what the pick 60s is all about, I'm blaming Todd Monken for running the ball only 3 times with Gus Edwards and putting too much on Lamar's plate and getting overwhelmed. Brinson.
I'm going with Lamar, too. I'm trying to think, what in the playoffs would cause me to change my mind? Because I don't think Patrick Mahomes had that great of a regular season. I don't think his 2 performances in the playoffs are enough to justify putting him above Lamar. And if we are counting the playoffs, Lamar had 1 bad playoff game. But he had 1 good playoff game.
6 bad quarters.
He had 6 bad quarters, but he had 2 good quarters. And he didn't have to play the first weekend of the playoffs because he was so freaking good in the regular season. Lamar Jackson.
Well, obviously, Brinson is staring at me because he knows I am about to vote against him. Wilson over here is saying that he's going to blame Todd Monken for putting too much on Lamar's plate. That's literally the definition of the MVP. If you want a lot on your plate so you can will your team to the win. Lamar Jackson could not do it in the AFC title game. He got shut down on the big stage. And Brinson, you said Patrick Mahomes had 2 big games, but the Chiefs won 3. He played well enough in the first half against the Ravens defense that was all they needed because the Chiefs defense played so well. Played really well in the 4th coldest game in NFL history in the wild card round. Outdueled Josh Allen. The postseason pushed me over the edge. If this was just regular season, I agree with you guys. Okay. Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, I'm taking Patrick.
I think it would be a really, really interesting debate if they included the playoffs right now with the award. Because I think a lot of people, I wish we had old Petey Prisco up here to ask him what he would do if he would change his vote from Lamar to Patrick Mahomes if we included the playoffs.
All right, that's it for the pick 60s. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more Super Bowl coverage, maybe a little Hall of Fame conversation right after this from the Bellagio.